Welcome back, everyone. This is the Plantonics UK Open. I'm Madals and spawning on Deadless Point. Map number 2 of this best of 3. In the top left, we have the Orange Zerg Player. The Orange Zerg Player? Player? What even is Player? That's not even a word. Anyway, the Orange Zerg Player representing Infused. It's Jamesykins. And his opponent, down in the bottom right, the Green Terran. Currently 1-0 up. RobbyG. RobbyG playing, as always, a devastatingly effective style of Terran up against Zerg. And if I had to sum up to someone who didn't play StarCraft how RobbyG plays against Zerg, it would quite simply be he attacks everywhere as often as possible, just so that his opponent can never really be on top of him. And that's basically what he does. He drops in bases while pushing into a third base, while just generally being as irritating as possible. None of those pushes are ever designed to be devastating or the push that ends the game, but they all just chip away a little bit. They're like, you've lost 3 or 4 drones at each base. And then I'll do it again in 30 seconds. And then again 30 seconds after that. And before you know it, suddenly you don't really actually have much left. Behind that though, RobbyG's macro is just on the money. Constant production cycles, constantly expanding. So he's got the economy and the tech to continue on with this pressure. The other thing worth noting with RobbyG and why his multi-prong and constant aggressive style works so well is that by being constantly aggressive and trading all the time, his opponent, especially a Zerg player early on, is never able to get that critical mass of units to overwhelmingly defend and take out most of RobbyG's forces. And much of that is due to how RobbyG aims to conserve his early aggression. Rather than just going in for maximum damage early on, instead, he waits for Zerglings to come out, he kills as many as he can, and as soon as a couple of Marines are about to die, yoink, up into a medevac, back away to safety. Conserving those units for the follow-on push, which will have a couple more units added into it. Whereas the Zerg player will always lose a handful of Zerglings. And that small amounts of damage, that small chip away, compounds over time, until suddenly you just don't really have much. RobbyG this game though, is mixing it up. Not going for the same playstyle. Going pretty much as greedy as you could possibly be. These 2 Marines still going to come and hassle into the natural base, but they get taken down fairly fast. The difference being though, is that RobbyG's got a 3rd command center down super early. Super early. Has it been seen? Not yet. Probably won't be either. Jamesykins isn't going to be expecting there to be a 3rd command center at the moment. This SCV may actually give away the ploy though. Couple more Marines are coming down, the natural base not yet finished, but Jamesykins adapting to this build that RobbyG always does, which is 1 racked into a command center by becoming aggressive. These Zerglings do get the memo that, hang on, why is there a bunker down there, and scout the super early 3rd. Jamesykins has, again, 2 options. He can be more aggressive against this. Go for something like a roach bailing all in, which with 2 gases getting thrown down could be what he's looking for. He could also try and take a very early 3rd base, which he's going to be going for, and just try and play a longer game. But his economy, regardless, is going to get into some troubles compared to that of RobbyG's, who's just going to have such an overwhelming amount of income due to that exceptionally early 3rd command center. A tech lab coming down on RobbyG's barracks. That's going to allow him to start up Stim. He's also adding in the factory and probably a starport shortly down, actually on the low ground by the 3rd base. And the reason for this is he wants to act as a little wall off here, forcing any Zergling run-bys to come around the side so he can just keep some units here in order to defend everything. Jamesykins though has a decent number of Lings out on the field. Speed isn't yet done, but a Bailing Nest is in production as well as more Zerglings, so this is a heavy commitment into Lings at the moment. And as such, this 3rd base could be running into some difficulties. This is now a massive commitment into Zerglings. Another 16 coming out. That's going to take us up to 35. And while this is a lot of damage that can come down, what it isn't is drones. The income for Jamesykins is getting really hurt, and if he isn't able to flat out, well, to be honest, if he doesn't win with this, he could run into some problems. Queen's even coming over for the joy as well. One gets transfused just to stay alive. This wall off getting a little bit further, a couple of mules getting cooled down, but in comes now the Zerglings. The Marine count only sitting at 9. That really isn't many. The mules and the SCVs getting pulled back, the bunker being used. The Zerglings have to trade hard. They can't just poke in and run away because there's just going to be too much damage, and a lot of Banelings morphing through now. This could be devastating. A second bunker getting thrown into the mix. A third one wouldn't necessarily be a bad move, and that is something that RobbyG agrees with. Desperately trying to get these up. It's not finished yet, but it does complete the wall off, meaning that these Banelings have to detonate very quick. All the Banelings go down. Quite a few Marines are still alive, but there's so many Zerglings here. The bunkers are not yet finished. And even if they do, the Zerglings are just ignoring them and streaming into the natural base. RobbyG evacuating all of his workers from there. Desperately trying to hold on. The supply depots are down. They need to go up now. But they don't, and that allows the Zerglings up into the main base. They can start chipping away at all of these workers. There's more Zerglings still coming through. There's more damage being done pretty much everywhere. The tech lab with Stim researching is getting incredibly low. Stim is not going to finish. Big hit there, seconds away from completion, and Jamesykins looking really solid. Morphing in a couple more Banelings. RobbyG, was he too greedy this game? It's certainly playing out like it could be. Speed, of course, finished a while ago. Nothing but Zerglings and Banelings being produced at the moment by Jamesykins. Being so aggressive, and it's working so well for him. RobbyG was so bold with how he approached this game. And unfortunately, it's looking like it hasn't paid off. And the aggression from Jamesykins is going to allow him to take this game. RobbyG is by no means out yet, though. He hasn't lost more workers than he's produced compared to that of Jamesykins. But there's a lot of Banelings waddling about, and they're fairly scary. There's also just a constant stream of units coming across, and never a critical mass of Marines or infantry ready to deal with. There's a couple of Hellions coming through, and they're going to help really well up against the Lings. But RobbyG is now starting to take some fairly substantial losses. This Orbit Command going to have to lift, or it's going to have to die. And there's nothing really he can do about that. Zerglings still trying to come through. The Hellions getting repaired up. A couple of Banelings detonate on that bunker, but the natural base is going to go down. More and more Lings coming across. This is emergency defense now from RobbyG. Even SCVs fighting up against the Queen. Trying to tank up some of that damage, but RobbyG is now losing so many SCVs. Jamesykins rallying nothing but speedlings across the map. GG is called. And with that, Jamesykins levels out this series 1-1.